What's up, everybody? So, did Jesus tell his brother James just simple, straightforward instructions on how everybody can escape the soul trap? Well, it really sounds like it in the first apocalypse of James. This is one of the so called Gnostic Gospels found at the Nag Hammadi Library. And you don't need a library card, a shovel maybe. They were just found under a boulder there. And the Coptics are who lived in Egypt after Jesus and started the first churches there. And this is one of the reasons I still think Jesus was a real person. I think it took off in all these different kingdoms that weren't under one centralized control that could just make up a story like this. But they did control the narrative of what happened and what this realm really is and what the afterlife is. But it wasn't always like that. There weren't even official written texts for the first 100, 200 years. So people just heard this, word of mouth. Since this is your immortal soul we're talking about here, I'll go ahead and give you Jesus's instructions up front and then I'll discuss after. Because I don't think a requirement for going to heaven should be a long attention span. Who knows if these are authentic? And it's 100% Gnostic ideology. But, Jesus spoke in parables for the masses and had secret teachings for friends and disciples. I mean, he was teaching them something during that time, right? But here he's describing the world as existing under the authority of the 12 Archons. These are these kind of demonic beings that make our reality and feed off of bad vibes. They, along with this whole material realm, were a big cosmic mistake. The mother goddess Sophia impregnated herself and basically gave birth to the demiurge and the archons, and that's the inferior power among them that brought forth for itself angels and unnumbered hosts. So separate from him who is source, this inferior power has brought forth the material world and angels, archons to serve him. So I'll give you the punchline and then go into more detail about all that. But supposedly Jesus here tells James that at your moment of demise, when you are seized and undergo these sufferings, a multitude will arm themselves against you that they may seize you. In particular, 3 of them will seize you who sit there as toll collectors. Not only do they demand toll, but they also take away souls by theft. When you come into their power, one of them who is their guard will say to you, "Who are you and where are you from?" You are to say to him, "I am a son and I am from the Father." I'm assuming daughter works here if it applies. He will say to you, "What sort of son are you? And what father do you belong to?" And you answer, "I am from the pre-existent Father and a son in the pre-existent one." When he says to you, blank, man, part of the text is missing. We're all going to hell. I'm sure we can play fill in the blank and get this figured out. But you are to say to him, blank in the blank, and I might. Just going to have to be on your toes for question number 2. But one of those blanks to be filled in is alien things, because he asks blank of alien things, and you are to say to him, and this is a mouthful, but when you kind of understand the concept, it's a little easier. The alien things here is talking about this material world that our spirit's trapped in. You answer they are not entirely alien, but they are from Akamoth, which is a weird story, but it basically means Sophia, who is the female. And these she produced, she brought down the race from the pre-existent one. So she kind of gave birth to this universe on accident and got part of the pre-existent one stuck in there. That would be us. But so then they are not alien, but they are ours. They are indeed ours because she who is mistress of them is from the pre-existent one. At the same time, they are alien because the pre-existent one did not have intercourse with her when she produced them. So y'all got all that? Takes a couple times through it. But then the Archon or whatever it is asks you, "Where will you go?" And you are to say to him, "To the place from which I have come, there shall I return." And if you say all of those things, you will escape their attacks. It's actually a lot easier to remember than the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And unfortunately, all of these seem to agree that there's some kind of scary beings that you're going to encounter when you die, which that sucks. But what was interesting in the Book of the Dead is one of those beings will come along and just his presence will just terrify you. And this is one of the many stages that they say that you can, if you do it right, you can pass on to a better existence, a higher existence. But it turns out that that entity that is terrifying you is you. It's your true self, and nobody can really face the true awe that is them, which I thought was a really interesting thought. Okay, so they say something here. You go back to the place that you've come from. And I think after that, he says that you'll no longer be James. And, that's kind of one thing I've thought about before. And they're talking about the one who is and always, the ineffable source. And if you do meld back into that, then I think you just lose all individuality. You're like one molecule in the big toe of the greater organism. Now, here's the deal with all this Gnostic stuff is it seems to be all tied in with the astrotheology thing and this even the catastrophe cycle. And so when talking about this and the ancient gods, I really don't know where to draw the line between were there physical beings here on the earth that people called the powerful ones, or is this all just talking about stars in the heavens, literally? A lot of people used to just call the stars gods. I personally think it's probably a combination of both, that all the stories have just got mishmashed together, but I don't know. Anyway, this is the Akamoth side of Sophia, and I know it looks like Wiki, it's Ascension Glossary. There's some Wiki haters out there, but sometimes they do good write ups. I mean, you don't want to go with Wiki on what's going on over in the Middle East right now, but, the old stuff, they do some pretty good write ups at times. Anyways, talking about Tiamat's destruction, getting into some Velikovsky's World in Collisions, where Tiamat was Earth's sister planet, and there was a big cosmic catastrophe, which ties in with the ancients saying that Saturn was the original sun. But due to the destruction of Tiamat, the collective consciousness on Earth descended, and this Christos Sophia divine essence is to where Christ is the male energy, Sophia the female, and that essence is trapped in this phantom matrix. And, it taken literally, I mean, they're talking about the consciousness of a planet, which is interesting to think about. I mean, we are kind of just part of a bigger organism here. Her fallen body parts were used to impregnate her with grotesque creations such as the Archon parasites for the use of these lower spirits. These all came about through her fragmented consciousness, and she had no control over what they did. So there's one side here where all physical life is made out of the body parts of the planet here. Then there's the other side where all physical matter came from the spiritual body of Sophia's. And now she's trapped in that matter. So this part of Sophia's fallen consciousness is what the Akamoth is. It is for this reason Christos repeatedly returns to Earth to help to reclaim Sophia's body parts, which when made whole again will allow her to return to the Godhead. When considering that the planet Tiamat is the physical world that existed with humanity's world soul in another evolution cycle, then it is the fallen Sophia consciousness called Akamoth, which is synonymous with the fallen goddess. So once again, it's sounding like the life force essence of a planet used to be on Tiamat and now is on Earth in a distorted state. I don't know. Maybe y'all got something completely different out of that. I never claimed I understand what's going on here. But according to this, it's this knowledge that the Essenes, the Christos Templars on Earth, worshipped the female aspect of the Christos Sophia as God's body of wisdom, as this was of sole importance to heal her, heal the timelines, and the Earth body. So one draw out of this is there was some huge cosmic mistake in heaven. Either way you look at this, is either Tiamat being a planet or Sophia as being a life force that accidentally impregnated herself and created this material world without the original source that she is from and therefore that we are from. And if you were to heal this injury that had been done, then everything would go back to source. And if that's the case, then I guess the question would be, how do we heal the Mother Goddess? Or do we like the suffering of our samsara too much and we just want to keep doing this over and over? Static out.